But was it?
He was murdered. There's no question about it.
No one will ever convince me, I know they never convinced Helen, his mother, that he took his own life.
On this episode of Mysteries and Scandals, we'll examine that fateful night, the night America lost a superhero. We'll also feature exclusive interviews with some of Reeves' Superman co-stars, including the original Jimmy Olsen.
That there was a hitman who secretly came in the house and murdered George. That did not happen.
And we'll hear from the two actresses who played Superman's love interest, Lois Lane.
It's hard for me to accept that he did commit suicide. You were just stunned because having just seen him and he was happy, we were going to work again and gone.
The story of Superman's mysterious death will be told through rare photographs and archival footage. Plus, we'll recreate the death of George Reeves and try to figure out who was holding the gun that killed the superhero. Was it his nightclub singer fiancée, afraid she was about to be jilted? Did his older married lover hire a hitman to bring him down? Or did a drunk and despondent Superman just decide it was time to throw in the cape? I'm A.J. Benza. Join me as we take a look at the mysterious death of Superman on this stroll down the flip side of the Walk of Fame. Immortalized as Superman, George Reeves' ashes are here in this mausoleum near his childhood home of Southern California. Even in death, Reeves cannot escape his overbearing mother. His ashes bookended for eternity between his mother and his aunt. It's no surprise that Helen Besselo wanted her ashes to rest beside her only son forever and always. The one fact regarding Reeves' early life that everyone agrees upon is that his mother worshipped George to the point of smothering him. Reeves had something of a chaotic childhood. His parents divorced when George was just a baby. Mother and son eventually moved to Pasadena, California, where George discovered his calling in the theater. Film historian Jim Beaver explains.
He fell in love with the acting and did a great number of plays there in Pasadena all through the late 30s. While he was in a play, he was spotted by a casting director and auditioned for and got a role in Gone with the Wind, which was, at least in a way, the beginning of his professional career.
Not a bad gig to start off your professional career, huh? So Reeves was just one of many actors to get his start here at the famous Pasadena Playhouse, training ground to such luminaries as William Holden, Gene Hackman, and Dustin Hoffman. Anyhow, he takes this job on Gone with the Wind. He was to play one of the red-headed Tarleton twins, two Southern gentlemen both vying for the attentions of the beautiful Scarlett O'Hara. The other brother was played by Fred Crane.
We were both ecstatic about getting the part together because it was the first thing that either one of us had done in motion picture.
To celebrate, Reeves suggested a night on the town, indulging in one of his favorite hobbies, drinking.
We had Navy grogs and zombies and puka punches and ate rumaki, and we were sitting next to a very fine gentleman. We made a lot of noise, and we got off the chairs. After we were through, we walked out on our knees.
Hollywood took notice of the handsome newcomer from Gone with the Wind. Reeves was cast opposite Claudette Colbert in the 1943 war picture So Proudly We Hail, directed by Mark Sandrich. Just as his career was moving into high gear, he joined the war effort and enlisted in the Army. Sandrich assured the young actor he would make him a movie star when his tour of duty ended.
By the time George got out of the Army, which he had entered before the film was released, Mark Sandrich was dead. And George always said during the Superman years that if Mark Sandrich hadn't died, he wouldn't be sitting there now in his monkey suit.
But it was that monkey suit that brought George Reeves fame, and with it, frustration. Reeves still dreamed of film stardom, and he was embarrassed of his Superman success, but was he depressed enough to end it all? Just ahead, we'll introduce the two women in George's life. Was it one of his lovers who proved the Man of Steel was simply flesh and blood?
That's a call I've been waiting for, Miss Lane. Everything's been taken care of, except you. No, I don't believe it.
You will, Blinky. You will.
Superman, the classic 50s TV show that made George Reeves a household name. I'm A.J. Benza, and welcome back to Mysteries and Scandals, and I'll look back at the mysterious death of Superman. After World War II, George Reeves scrounged around Hollywood for film roles. And then in 1951, his chiseled good looks and muscular physique won him the lead role of Superman on television. He accepted the role for the oldest reason in the book. He needed the dough. Besides, Reeves was convinced the last thing America wanted to see was a grown man running around in tights. He was wrong. The series was a thundering success. Phyllis Coates, who played Lois Lane during that first season, remembers meeting her co-star.
George invited me over with Izzy Burns, who was George's wardrobe man. He also took care of me, too, because I only had 2 suits. He'd hide one for in case I got egg on one. So George made us a martini, and he said, here's to the bottom of the barrel. And that was how I first met George.
George was typecast in the Superman role. I was typecast as Jimmy Olsen, and I wanted to get back into films too, and I only had a bow tie and a sweater to worry about. He had the Superman insignia and what he called the monkey suit.
But every year he would use the monkey suit to the delight of some needy child. Superman historian Jim Hambrick recalls one of Reeves' annual rituals.
At the end of every season, George would cut the S out of his costumes and send the S's to kids in the hospital or somebody's birthday or whatever and destroy the rest of the costume.
Clark, aren't they the cutest puppies you ever saw?
They sure are, but did you ever see a puppy that wasn't cute?
Off-screen, Reeves' life was exactly the opposite of the mild-mannered Clark Kent he played on TV. George enjoyed a long-time affair with a wealthy society woman by the name of Toni Mannix. There was only one little problem. Toni was very married to an MGM executive, Eddie Mannix. Hollywood kryptonite author Nancy Schoenberger fills us in.
George Reeves' 10-year romance with Toni Mannix was an open secret in Hollywood. She had the kind of arrangement with her husband that allowed her to go after what she wanted. Eddie was an important guy at MGM, the vice president. They were in a high echelon of Hollywood society.
Eddie knew about their relationship and approved of it. He'd fallen in love with Toni. They married. They were all devout Catholic. There was never to be a divorce. But there was, I believe, quite a bit of sinning. And
A lot of confession.
On Sunday morning, yes.
He called her Ma. And they were a great twosome. And she was very good to George. She bought the house. It was quite nice. You know, she really gave George a good start. She called him the boy. And she took very good care of him.
Very good indeed. This trendy British roadster was also a gift from the generous Toni Mannix. Their affair continued for a decade until just 1 year before his death, when a flashy New York nightclub singer blew into his life. Her name was Lenore Lemon. I kid you not.
George said she was beautiful. And she was quite beautiful.
But pretty is as pretty does, and Lenore had a pretty unsavory reputation, according to Superman historian Jan Henderson.
She was known for being 86 from certain clubs for brawling over men. Typical thing you wouldn't think would go in cafe society.
But that didn't matter to George. The guy was head over heels. Jean LaBelle was a personal friend of George Reeves.
And then he said, look, I love the woman. If she wanted a lighter cigarette with a $100 bill, I'd give her the $100 bill.
George and Lenore announced their plans to marry. George's longtime lover, Toni Mannix, was not pleased.
Shortly after that, I heard from Toni about Leonore Lemon. She wanted me to talk to George. She wanted me to talk to the boy. And I said, he's a big boy, and that's not, you know, I don't feel that's appropriate.
Toni was more beautiful than George was ever handsome, and he was a lucky guy, I thought.
But George's luck was about to run out. Not even the Man of Steel was up to the task of keeping Lenore in line. For one thing, she had a temper when she drank, and pretty soon George's close friends stopped coming around.
She wasn't the kind of person that you fall in love with. She's the kind of a person that wants to run your life.
And if that wasn't enough, Lenore was rumored to have connections to the mob back in her native New York.
She was well known as a party girl, and she was involved with Hoffa and all of that. Look what happened to Hoffa.
Yeah, and look what happened to George. At least they found his body. But was Lenore Lemon responsible? Or did Reeves make the decision to end it all? When we come back, we'll take a look at all the theories surrounding that deadly night in 1959 when Superman bit the bullet. After this.